So let's just add some records. We're gonna add, we're gonna say Henry, and we're gonna have coding cleverly land, and we're gonna have a phone number like this, and then we're gonna have another ad, and we're gonna say Peter. We're gonna have the address as New York, and we're gonna have the phone number as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and let's have another one, add, and let's say Mario, let's say Mushroom Kingdom, and we'll have the phone number as 999999. Let's put another one, I guess. Right, so let's create the address book in Java. So the first thing is first, we have to know what we're trying to create. We're trying to create an address book that contains the following functionalities. There are going to be total 4 primary objectives that we have to fulfill: add, delete, search, and exit. So add is basically adding new person records inside of our address book. So delete will basically try to delete an existing person record from the address book, and then we'd have to search for a particular person inside of an address book, which is an individual functionality. And then the last functionality is exit, which will exit our application safely. So we're going to start by creating a new file here. We're going to say test.java, and over here we're going to press this button, and we're going to press B, and over here we're going to say public. So this is our class test, and there you go. So now before this class, we have to create an individual class which will have the person info for our address book. So we'll say person info class, and inside of this person info class, wait a minute, so there. So inside of this person info class, we'll have some fields. So the first field is the name of the person. The second field is the address of the person. And the third field is the phone number of the person. And now once we're done with that, let's create a parameterized constructor. So let's create the parameterized constructor, and we're going to have the same name as the person info. And inside the parameters, we're going to say name as N, we're going to say address as A, we're going to say phone number as P, and we're going to assign them individually, like name is equal to N, address is equal to A, and we have phone number as P. There you go. This is our constructor. Now let's create a method. Now we're going to try to create a graphical user interface program. This is our project, and we want to use the GUI. So we're going to use a toolkit that's available in Java. And the toolkit that we're going to be using is Swing. So Swing is a GUI widget toolkit for Java. It is part of Oracle's Java Foundation classes, an API for providing a graphical user interface for Java programs. Swing was developed to provide a more sophisticated set of GUI components than the earlier abstract window toolkit. So we're just using this thing. It's a pretty cool toolkit, and we're going to import it by going on the top of our program, and we're going to say import. So import, and we're going to say Java x.swing, and we're going to import everything. So we're going to say asterisk. So there you go. That's our importing line. And now let's go back here, and let's create a display function. And that we'll try to use the graphical toolkit for this. Display on GUI, and let's first, okay, let me put an S over here. Okay, now let's create the display function. So we're going to say void display, and here we're going to have just this following function. It's called JOption. So JOption pane dot show message. There you go. Show message dialog, and then we have the first input parameter would be null, and then would have the name, and then we'd have a colon. So name will be capital here, and we want the name shown. So we'll say the plus name, the name which has been over here inserted, and then we want the individual stuff, like, so we're going to concatenate with string, and we're going to say address using address. We're going to have a colon, and then we're going to have this plus again, and we're going to say address here, so address. And now we're going to have another concatenate, and we're going to say phone number, so we're going to say phone, and we're going to have number, and we're going to have a colon here again, and we're going to have a space here, and we're going to say phone number. So there you go. So once we're done with all of that, so notice we have to add in the entire phone number. We're done with that. Semicolon right at the end. Okay, cool. Now we're done with this display function. We could end our class over here. So this is our function over here. And then we have end of the class. So this is our step 1 completed. And let me just zoom out so I could show you what we did so far. We just created this function. We created this class. And inside of this class, we have this constructor. And we also have the display function. Okay, so let's go on to the next step. Now the next step is to create an AddressBook class. And the purpose of this AddressBook class will be first create an array list that will store all of these objects. All of these objects will be stored inside of a data structure, and it's going to be called an array list data structure. So we're going to use that. So we're going to say class AddressBook, and over here we're going to have the array list. So we're going to say array list, and array list, and the name of the array list will be called persons. Okay, now before using an array list, we have to import it. So we're going to go in here in our Java line, and we're going to say import java.utility package.asterisk, and that's it. That's all we got to do, and we got our array list available with us as well. So let's go back here, and now what we got to do is we're going to have to go here a little and then put in their constructors. So the address book constructor. So we'll say constructor right here, and we're going to say address book, and let's see what the address book constructor will have to do. So when it creates a new object of address book, we'll have to make it initialized. So the array list should be initialized to something called new array list. So there you go. Remember those 4 primary objectives, what we had to do before when we started this project? Now we're going to try to think about how we're going to implement those objectives. And remember that we had one which was an adding of a person object. So let's create a method over here inside of this address book which will add a person object inside of an array list. So we could create a function for that, and then we could create an individual function for searching a person and an individual function for deleting a person. The return type for this will be void. We're going to say add person, and we're going to try to first of all ask for the name, address, and phone from the user. So we're going to say string name is equal to, and we're going to try to use the input dialog. So we're going to say j option, so option j option pane show input dialog. So input dialog, and we're going to have to say enter name. Right after that, we're going to say string address. We're going to call it add, and we'll say j option pane dot show input dialog, and we're going to say enter address, and we're going to put a colon here, semicolon, and we're going to say string p number, which is the phone number. I'm going to say j option pane dot show input dialog, and we're going to say enter phone number. So we're going to say enter phone number like that. Once we're done with that, we get all of these 3 variables and put them inside of our constructor that we already created for persons. So like I showed you over here, this is our persons info constructor, and we're going to try to use them to create an object. So let's create a person info object. So we're going to say person info p is equal to new, so new person info, and inside of this we'll put name, the address, and we'll also put the p number, and we'll close it right like that. So our constructor, worked for us, and we created an object, and now we're just going to put this inside of an array list. So I'm just going to say creating a person info object, and all this code will be provided in my GitHub repository, so you guys could check that out as well. The link will be in the description. Now over here we have the adding it. So add the person info object. So we're going to have to try to add this person info object to our array list using persons dot add, and we're going to say p, like that. There you go. It's added in our persons array list right there. Now we're done with the addition. That was it. And now let's try to create the searching operation. Remember that we actually said we're going to have to ask for some kind of input from the user, let's say the name. And then the program will try to search the array list for that specific name and then try to show all of its content out. And we have a function for showing all the content. It's called display. We already created it earlier. So we're just going to have to first create this method. So how we're going to do it is we're going to have void. We're going to have a search person, and inside we're going to have to create a string n. So the string n is going to be the name, what the user is going to be providing. And we're going to create a for loop that will iterate through this whole array list. We're going to I is equal to 0, I is less than the persons dot size function is the array list size, and we're going to say I plus plus, incrementing all the time. And inside of this, we're going to actually get the person individually. So we say person info p, and we're going to say we're going to try to get the array list. So we're going to say persons dot get, and we're going to get the index. So by this, you just insert an index, and we can just downcast it using this operator. It's called person. We're going to say, actually it's an object class, so we just downcast it to a person info, and we just put inside this person info. And then we actually use the if condition, and we'll say if n dot equals, now n is already the input, so we'll say input parameter equals the equals function for that, and we'll say p dot name. And if that name matches, we can just display the content. So it's a p dot display. That's it. And there you go. That's our function, our search person function. That's pretty simple. Now the delete function will work according to the same thing, same methodology, but we're going to say void. We're going to say delete person, and we're going to say string n. We're going to actually get the same thing, and we're going to iterate through it. So we're going to say for int. So int I is equal to 0, I is less than the person's dot size function, and we're going to have the I plus plus over here. And inside of this, we're going to have a person info object again. We're going to have p is equal to new. No, not new, but we're going to have to try to get it again from the array list. So we're going to say persons dot get, and we're going to have this I over here, and we're going to have to downcast it once again. So we're just going to downcast it to the person info object, like that. And right after this, we're going to have to check again if the name equals. So we say if n dot equals, so equals, and we'll say p dot name. Then we're going to remove it using the p dot remove. It's called actually persons dot remove, and we're going to say I, whatever that current one was. So it's just going to remove our person from the array list. So done with the delete person, done with the search person, done with the adding person. All these methodologies are done. Let me just put a comment here. Searching for a person. Wait a minute. There you go. And right here we're going to have deleting a person. They're self-explanatory, and you just got them all right. So right after that, so right now I'm just going to show how this looks like. So we have this address book, and we have this array list persons. We have constructor, address book, we have an adding person object method, we have a search person method, and we have a delete person method. Okay, so that was cool. Now let's go to the last step, and that's actually going into our main driven logic, which is the test class. So let's go here, go downwards, and let's try to execute all of this in our main. So first of all, we're going to have to create our main method. So we're going to say public static void main string. You have args, command line arguments, and there you go. Now inside of this, we're going to create an address book object. So we're going to say address book. I'm going to say AB is equal to new address book. And it just creates an address book with a fresh new array list. There's nothing inside of the array list in the beginning. So you can see our constructor right here. It just creates a fresh new array list, nothing inside. So let's go back here in our test and let's create some additional stuff in here. We need a string input. Get some inputs as well. I'm gonna have to get another input as well. So I'm also gonna get a ch int, and I'll show you why I have to do this. So let's create a while loop first, and I'm gonna try to create this as an infinite sequence until the user presses the exit button, right? So until the user wants to exit out of the program, it would just keep on repeating until that happens. So we have a while loop. I will say while true, because this is the condition how it works. And there you go. So while true, and we want this thing to happen. So we're gonna have to have the input, and we already know that we're using a graphical tool. So we're gonna say j option, so j option pane and dot. So we're gonna put the dot. We're gonna say show input dialog. Okay. And now we're going to say this stuff. So enter 1 to add. And we're going to give some instructions for the user. We're going to say, right after that, we're going to say enter 2 to search all the methods. So let's put this add as well, a capital. And let's put a \n as well here. And we'll say, it doesn't look pretty right now, but it's going to look really good once we run this code. So enter 3 to delete. Not delete, but delete, and \n, enter 4 to exit, and that's our code over here. So we're gonna put a semicolon right after that, and now we're gonna have to ch, and we're gonna say integer, because we know that this input is in some string format. We want to parse that into an int, because I'm gonna try to use a switch case sequence, or an if else I could use as well, to use whatever the user asks. Like for instance, if it wants 1, then we'll do the first operation, which is add. If it wants 2, we'll use the other operation, which is to search. If it wants 3, then delete operation, and the 4th one is going to be the exit. So I want the int of it, and I want to convert this string to an int. So one solution here is integer dot. So integer, right there, it's a class. Now it's a parse int. So parse int, and then we could get the input, which is a string, put that inside of this, and that's it. It converts it to an int. So done with that. Now let's go back here, and we're gonna do a switch over here. So according to what we get, we're gonna have a switch, and switch will basically have the ch in here. Okay, and this is the body of the switch. We'll have cases over here. So switch case 1, for instance, and it would do something. We could go inside over here and we'll say AB, which is our address book object, and we're going to do add person object. So because it says add, and we'll put the name of the person, for instance. So we want to add a person, so it just since add person doesn't actually need an input parameter, it just asks from the user itself, so it's pretty easy. We just need nothing, so it's just gonna add person, that's it. And we could break it out using this break keyword inside of this. And I generally use switch statements here because they're a little more better as compared to if else, but you could use if else as well. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter. You could use switch or either if else. Nothing's better than other. Though it's just a preference for me. Now we're going to use the case 2. So we're going to say case 2, and the case 2 is actually for showing the content. So we say, first of all, we could say, actually we want to show. So we want a named search. We could say j option. Wait a minute. J option pane dot show input dialog, and we say enter name to search, and once we do that, it's gonna put that s inside of there, and we're gonna say ab dot search person record, and we're gonna put that name or that name in here, and then we could just break it right afterwards. The same thing goes with the third one, which is for deleting. We're gonna say J option. So we're gonna say J option pane dot show input dialog, and we're gonna say enter name to delete, and we could say ab dot delete person. I'm gonna put the S inside, and we could break it right after that. There you go. And the last case is for our primary objective. We wanted to exit out, so we could just say a system. So system dot exit command. So system dot exit, and we could put the 0 right here, which is safely exiting out from our application. Put a semicolon right at the end, and there you go. We're done with the end of this switch case, and we end this while case, while statement, and then this is our main, and then the main method, and then this is our main class. So let's have a quick look of how it looks like. So this is our switch, and let's look at the whole. This is our test thing. So there you go. Public void main string args address book AB new address book. We have this 2 strings. We have this ch. We have a while true loop that goes on till, so we can see that this while loop is still here, the body, and you can see input J option pane dot show input dialog. It just wants to enter and all this stuff, and it would definitely work. So let's try to test run this and see if there is no errors in this. Okay, so let's go back here, and I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna CMD here. I'm gonna zoom in a little over here. Now I'm gonna do C. First of all, I'm gonna use Java C, and we're gonna say test.java to compile it. And wow, it compiled, and it gave us some classes over here. We have some bytecode, and we also got some other additional. So we got some messages here as well. So we compiled it, and we got some bytecode, and we got some messages here. So note test.java uses unchecked or unsafe operations. Note recompile with -excellent, unchecked for details. So we're just gonna ignore that for now, and we're gonna compile and run it. So let's use Java test, a beautiful looking graphical user interface. There you go. This is our beautiful looking graphical interface, and you can see that it says enter 1 to add, enter 2 to search, enter 3 to delete, and enter 4 to exit. Right now there's nothing inside, so I'm gonna add one thing. So I'm gonna press OK. Now it says enter name. So I could name anything I want. Let's say Henry. So we want the address of Henry's, so we'll say coding cleverly. So coding cleverly land, whatever. So that's the address. Phone number is some random number here, and there you go. It's added. So now we could look at it using the search. You could see 2, and it's gonna ask us for the name. We're gonna say Henry over here, and there you go. We got name Henry, address is coding cleverly, and land coding cleverly, and phone number is this 11. So I know that the formatting for this is not that great. I'll update this right now, and I'll give you a better presentation of how we could get it better. We could put some \ns over here, right after the address and right after the phone number. So yeah, and the name. So I'm gonna quickly do that, and we could delete this code. So we could say Henry to delete. It should be deleting it. And if I search for Henry again, it shouldn't show me Henry. So let's see. It doesn't show me Henry. And if I exit out, it exits out the code. That's pretty cool. Now let's update our. Now first of all, let me show my print method, and I'm gonna have to update that. So let me go there real quickly. And yeah. So this is our name, and we have a name. So right after that, let me put a \n here. Right there, and let me put a \n right here as well. So it should be better, much improved as well. So there you go. That's pretty much it. And let's make these capitalized. So I'm just gonna make this name capital, A capital, P capital, and what else? What else needs a little magic touch? Is Let's see, enter 1 to add, enter 2 to search, 2 to delete. Okay, they're all looking good. Perfect. Okay. Okay, enter name to search. Enter name to search. It looks cool. Enter name to delete. And yeah. Okay, cool. So let's rerun this. Compiling it and rerunning it. And now we'll add something. Let's say Joey. And we say Paris. And we'll say phone number. There you go. Search Joey. And there you go. It looks much better. Name Joey, Paris. And then you go phone number, this. And we can just keep on improving this again and again. And exit out, and that, there you go. And you know, one other thing, one drawback is that when I recompile this, look, so I compiled it, and all my data will be gone right after like feeding stuff into my address book. Now if I go back here and I run my code, if I try to find Joey, I'm no longer gonna be seeing Joey anymore because it's gone. Right after I exit the code, everything destroys. So I want to create something additional here. I want to try to save my objects in some kind of file. And my program could like store them in a separate file and then save them over there. And then once I rerun my code, it could load all of those contents and put them inside of an array list so that my data doesn't get lost. So how can we do that? First of all, let's create the save persons method. We're gonna here we have a deleting person, and right after that, so right after this, let's create a saving one. So saving person record. How we're gonna save this is, first of all, we're going to say our method, we're going to have void, and we're going to say save persons. It's not going to accept any input parameters. So we're going to use exception handling here, a try, and generally a catch over here. So yeah, like that. So we're going to use some kind of IO manipulation here. And for that, I have to import java.io.asterisk, and I imported it right here. So let's go back here, and now we're gonna have to use input streams and output streams to write stuff to a file. So let's create a person info object here called P. We're also gonna have a string line that will associate to one line in the text file. Now we're going to have a file writer. So we're going to say file writer, and we'll say fw is equal to new file writer. It's going to name a file. It's going to be called as persons.txt, and it's going to be in the same directory where my code is. So persons.txt is the name of our file, and this is called a low level stream, this portion here. Now let's create a high level stream. Below it, we're going to be calling the print writer, and we're going to say pw, and we're going to say new print writer, and we're going to put the file writer in here, like that. And there you go. This is our high level stream. We're going to try to iterate through this array list, and we're going to try to write each of them in one individual line. So for instance, we have a name like Henry, and he lived in Coding Cleverly land. So we're going to have to write that in a single line in the text file, and then just keep on going to the next and the next and the next. So let's go and actually have for int I is equal to 0, I is less than the persons dot size method. So right there, and then we have I plus plus. Let's get the persons by using persons dot get, and then we have the I. Just trying to repeat the same thing. Over here we have the person info object, so we're just going to put person info space here. And now we're going to actually write in a line. So I'm going to have a line, and first of all, I'm just going to put him in a string. We know the person's p.name exists. I'm going to try to create the delimiter here. I'm going to try to separate them out using these commas. So I'll tell you why we're separating out. It's going to be really helpful for us in the future when we want to load these, and you'll understand why I actually used a comma as a delimiter here. So p.address and p.phone number. We're done with that. And actually we don't have a, okay, I think there's a semicolon issue over here. We're done with that, and all we got to do is now write this line, write line to persons dot text. And we're going to do this simply by our print writer, pw dot print line, and it's going to put that line in there. And there's a line over here, so you can mean the backslash n will be also given inside of it. So that's it. And it's just going to keep on writing all of them. At the end, we'll just have a print writer dot flush function, and we're going to have print writer dot close. I'm going to close this one, and we're going to close the file writer, so we're going to say file writer dot close as well. And there you go. And right in the catch, we're going to have the IO exception catch. And we also have just general exception. It would work as well, but let's just be a little specific and say IO exception. Put IO exception like that. And in the over here, we're just going to handle it using the system.out.println, and we're going to say IO exception. So we're going to say IO exception, semicolon right there. Cool, we're done with this. So let's go back a little, minimize, and you'll see how this save persons is written. Save person record, pretty simple. Have a save persons, we have a try and a catch block. Inside of it, we have a PersonInfo object, string line, and we have a file writer, fw new file writer persons.text, print writer pw is going to new print writer fw. So it's just a low level stream and high level stream, and then we have the loop that would iterate through the whole array list and write each of them inside of a text file, flush and close all these print writers and file writers, and then after that we're done with that. Let's create a load method now that would load these records. So to do this, first of all, let me just make a comment here, and we'll say like what we did here, saving person record, we're going to say loading person record. So we're going to have loading person record from text file. So we're going to say .text file. Okay, that's our comment here. So let's just maximize this. So here we're going to say void load persons, and we're going to try to create this thing in some awesome thing. Okay, so the thing is, we're going to see these in text file. Let's open up a text file to show you the demonstration of it. A record will have something like this in common. So it would have, let's say we have a record, let's say Henry. It would be separated with a comma and no spaces, and then would have the name where it lives. I mean the place where it lives. So I'll say, let me just have this a little zoomed in. I'll say coding cleverly land, and then we have a comma here to indicate there's a separation, and then 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 6 6. This is his phone number. So there's a backslash n right there, and then we'll have another one like Peter, and lives in let's say New York, and then it has a number. Okay, so this is how it's going to be shown in the text file. So we're going to have to try to read a line and then split it with these commas, which are these. We're going to try to split them with the commas, and we have a method in Java which is .split, and we can do that really easily. So we could actually do this really simply by having the following. So let's go back here. Now we got the idea of how we're going to do this. We're going to first create a string array over here, I'm going to call it as token. And it's generally going to be null in the beginning. When there's nothing in, there's going to be called null. String name, add, and the phone number. Like that. And we're going to get another try and except. So try or catch. Except is in Python. Catch is over here. And we're going to use input output streams again. But this time we're going to reuse the file reader. Not the file writer, but the file reader. And we're going to say file reader. File reader, or file fr is equal to new file reader. And we're going to read the persons.txt file. There you go. This is called the low level stream, which one I created. Now I'm going to create the high level stream. And that one's going to be called buffered reader. So it's going to see buffered reader. There's different methods to read it, but I'm going to use this one. So buffered reader, BR, new buffered reader. And we're going to put the FR inside of it. And there you go. That's our match. Now we're going to read the lines one by one. And we could use a method called readLine in the buffered reader. So we could put that as a line individually. So have it as a string line. And we'll say br.readLine. So br.readLine. You can see that it's available. It returns a string. There you go. Returns a string, and we'll put it in this string line variable. Now we're going to use a while loop, and we're going to go through this whole file until you see that line will be null, because the last portion after that would be just null. So we'll say while line not equal to null. So it's just going to keep on going and read the whole file. It's going to get the line, and it's going to split it by what we did before. We said we're going to split it by this comma here. So we're going to split it by commas, and we're going to assign it to this tokens array. So we're going to say tokens like that. And now that we have it in our tokens, we actually need this as S. Now it's not going to give us a problem. So we could actually have the name as the first. So in the first index we'll have the name. So we'd say 0. There you go. And then we'd have the address in the second subscript. So we'd say tokens subscript 2. Second subscript, which is 1. And then the last one is the phone number, which is in the tokens subscript 3. So it says the third index was 2, meaning the third one. So if I look over here, so this is going to be on our first index, sub 0. This is going to be on our second index, sub 1. And this is going to be in our third index, sub 2. And we're going to ignore these commas here. They're just delimited by it. So we're done with that. And we could actually put it in our PersonInfo. We're going to say PersonInfo, P is equal to new PersonInfo. There you go. And, oh man, 1 minute. So now we're going to actually have the name, the address, and the phone number inside of it, creating an object. And then once we're done with this creating the object, we're going to have to add this inside of our array list. So we're going to say persons.add p, like that. And we're going to continuously read the next line. So we're going to say br, which is the buffered reader, say read the next line. And it's just going to keep on going again and again and again until it stops. Until you see that null, that. And then null will surely appear at the end. And then we'll have the, the br.close, buffered reader.close. And we're going to have the file, I think it's the file reader. So it's going to be called file reader.close, like that. And inside of our catch block, we have the same IO exception. And we're going to call it as, wait a minute, IO exception. And we're going to have over here system.out.println. And we're going to say IO exception like that. Done with that. And let me just put a B over here. Wait a minute, just put over here and I'll show you how it looks like. This is our load persons. We have a string tokens array which has null in the beginning. We have a string name, add, and phone number. After that we have this try and catch block. In the try block we have a file reader and a buffered reader. Open up persons.txt which already exists, and says if it doesn't exist it's just going to show us this catch thing. That's why we have this try and catch. And inside we have a while loop that goes until null. The usual br.read line, which is going to read one single line, return it as a string and put it in the line. And we know that we have this line, so we split it with comma as a delimiter, and we have them as tokens array. So tokens has sub1, sub2, and sub3, so we put them as name, add, and phone number. Pretty cheeky. And then after that we have PersonInfo p, put them inside the constructor and add that PersonInfo. And then after that we use the next line to just keep on iterating. We have br.close and fr.close at the end. And that's it. So now all we got to do is now we have to call these methods inside our main. So right here, where do you think our load persons and where do you think our save persons will be used? We know that the save persons should be done right here because we have a save exit. So before this, let's just have a save persons call like that. So that's our save persons, but we know that this is going to give us an error because we have an object already created. So we just have to do ab.save persons. So save persons, I think it's like S, that's why. There you go. And the load persons should be before everything else. It should be in the constructor of our AB. So let's go back here in the AddressBook class, and inside of this we have this constructor, and we could call this AddressBook, and we could call this load persons right after this. So creating this array list, and we can load all the records which already exist before. So we can say load persons, and there you go. This should do it. So load persons, and that would work. And now we have all of them completed, and this should work now properly. So let's go down here and let's compile this baby. So I'm gonna clear all of this and I'm gonna recompile this. And it works. Now we're gonna run it. So Java test, and okay, so over here we have a file not found exceptions persons.txt. The system cannot find the file as specified, so it just print out that because it doesn't exist right now. So let's just add some records. We're gonna add, we're gonna say Henry, and we're gonna have coding cleverly land, and we're gonna have a phone number like this, and then we're gonna have another add, and we're gonna say Peter. We're gonna have the address as New York, and we're gonna have the phone number as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and let's have another one add, and let's say Mario. Let's say Mushroom Kingdom, and we'll have the phone number as 999999. Let's put another one, I guess. So we'll say Ben Tennyson, and let's have the address as Bellwood. I believe he used to live there. And 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, like that. Okay, now let's search it. I'll say Ben. So Ben Tennyson. And you can see Ben Tennyson's Bellwood and his phone number is existing here. Pretty cool. We could delete it as well, but we don't want to delete it. We want to exit out. So over here we're going to have 4, exit out. And you can see over here a person.txt exists. Whoa, that's cool. And when we open it up, all of them inside of our text file. That's pretty cool. We have Henry, coding cleverly, land, and all this stuff inside of our text file. And let's minimize this and let's rerun the code. So compiling it and running it, and it's going to load all the records from our text file. And if I search anyone, let's say we say Mario, it gives us Mushroom Kingdom and its phone number. Awesome. So it saved it, and we're just retrieving all contents, and we're actually adding, appending, and using, deleting, and all this methods in our address book class. We could definitely add more functionality to it. We could add more content to this. We could add more records to this. And I leave all this up to you guys. If you like this project, let me know in the comment sections. Give this video a like if you liked it. And also check my code out on the GitHub repository. It's going to be linked in the description. Until then, we're going to see you in a new video. Peace out.